Yo, what is good? My anime people, what is good, yo? Guys, I have seen quite a bit of different stories talking about how certain deities or entities can wind up in this world. And I think that is what truly hit home for me in this week's episode hearing about because being a firm believer of certain things in general, like for example, I've seen things that can't be explained happen in the case of no one being around and stuff just like straight up opening, closing and so forth, you know. So it's funny to me that once people see these things, they kind of just write it off as, oh yeah, it's probably just a wind, and it'll be a non-windy day, you know. So these paranormal things that have been popping off and clearly shown to hold some ridiculous amount of power is all because of humans, which is kind of funny to me how powerful we truly are without even knowing our real power. If anybody in this world actually knew that how this deity comes to life in the case of, imagine if the cop tells people what she's learned, you know. Hey, if we keep imagining something and if we put it on a wiki, it could come true. You know what I mean? Like, imagine the problems that this could cause from her giving this information up. It's one of those things where you kind of have to just take it and leave it because not only did she just teach this woman, you know, this cop who seemingly can maybe be human and be petty at any given time that, you know, her boyfriend's been taken by somebody, that, you know, she could even create a boyfriend that is like him or something dumb. You know, there's a lot of things that kind of come with this grand scheme of where they're going with this. And I probably shouldn't have played Soul Calibur Arena on expert, but hey, we all don't have the greatest ideas at times. um, to to see where all of this could lead at the end of the day is the problem with giving humans information that they've already done. And the cool thing about this is there's not only like a little bit of, you know, what is going on here in the game where I'm using this character from, it felt kind of like, but there's also sources of, you know, people who have done movies and who have done certain types of overall storytelling that involve this inclusion of humans making something that they might not even know they're making. And I don't want to spoil it too much, but that's what Berserk has in it. So take that as you will. Like, Berserk has something that pretty much was created in a way that should not have been created, and while it's been created, no one truly knows anything about it really, besides, you know, a handful of people. And that might be spoilers, but I'm sorry. And that's why this got to me so much. This is why I was so enjoying the week's episodes of learning, you know, well, this week's episode and just seeing where they were going to go with the whole ghost thing because we knew as a fact that the cops didn't believe it, and we had one cop that truly did believe it because she felt like some type of presence. But regardless of just one cop, you're not going to get too much with that, you know, and that they did that on purpose clearly because the other cop who actually brings it up to her seemed more to believe it than her until we got further in the conversation with the two. So now seeing her really become this medium now in the case of seeing everything and being a part of it, we finally get to hear the backstory of our main guy who I don't even think this backstory is said explicitly out loud because after the end of the story of how he gains both of his powers of immortality and to see the future, which I think he could only see the future after death. Because guess what? After all of these attacks were getting closer and closer, about to bop him, guess what he does after he practically dies, right? He knows exactly how far the attack's going to go, so he stops just short of it being able to reach, thus making him get his one opportunity of attack in that he got in against the Steel Lady the whole entire episode, which then turned out to not even work, you know? So, pretty awesome stuff how they incorporated both of his powers, and this is why I believe she didn't say anything out loud, because it pretty much proved her theory correct at that point that, oh, okay, so he has the mermaid, but what else does he have? Like, what else would he, necessarily be using at this point? And I somehow she came to the conclusion of future foresight, and with him doing this stopping right in front after, dancing around not knowing what the heck's going to happen, to all of a sudden knowing exactly where to stop and when the opportunity will come to strike, was pretty obvious for her. But to me, it didn't even seem that obvious, right? I just thought he maybe was fighting for her so long that, okay, I think I understand her patterns, like that makes sense, right? um, so I'm just looking forward to seeing if they can actually. Did I just go through his block? Sick. If they could keep this show afloat and doing these interesting things, because like I've said, there's shows that kind of draw things out a little bit too far, and for good reason, or not even just a show, the light novel, the manga, whatever they're using to follow up, and if they do it to the T, or if they don't do it to the T and stretch it out, these are the things that kind of get fans and non people that know anything about it kind of lost in it, right? Because if could snap her neck, why didn't if I get it, like snapping something's neck that you shouldn't be able to physically touch makes sense that it should do something, right? I guess. And for me, I'm bodying that thing, right? Like I'm snapping its neck and then I'm maybe punching a hole through its chest to look for like a core or something. But even that would not have worked. So it kind of gets saved with our main girl being so intelligent with how these spirits and deities can come about, that she knows this was created by humans, and this wiki is truly the thing that got her information out so far stretched that now anybody who kind of has um, any thoughts that she could even be remotely real makes her stronger, makes her even more real, right? So that's kind of the cool part of all this. And like I said, there are shows that have done this before, so it's not like they're coming up with this, but I think they're taking it to the furthest level and then some, because as of now, I don't think I've seen one of those shows that I was telling you about handle something that was created by imaginations and brought to life. You know what I mean? So I don't know if we're going to ever get that in the other shows, but it seems like this show is really touching on the way of how they could be defeated in this verse, in this like universe, and maybe other shows will follow, the trend, or they already have ways to take out these types of beings. So really interested in what you guys thought about this show. Is it something you're going to keep up with? Is it something you may drop sooner or later? Because at this point, I can kind of tell that they're going to string along most of the stuff. Like when the to be continued part popped up, it was kind of obvious to me. We've seen this now with the girl who we knew nothing about, who maybe had a miscarriage and maybe killed somebody, but is for sure in jail. Like we had a good amount of stuff dealing with her, and then we just jumped straight into the Crane stuff without even like a blink of an eye. It was just Crane, Crane girl. Here we go. We're Steel Beam lady. So if that is the trend of this show, we might see a very abrupt end. I mean, kind of like a snapping of the neck of a ghost, right? Like that doesn't seem possible. One, its neck just keeps spinning around because it shouldn't have any physical, like actual bones and ligaments and stuff. It should just be like an empty shell. So it also goes to kind of show you that it has some weird body that it's like capable of reacting and touching the physical world. So I'm interested in what you guys are thinking about this. Let me know. I'm your boy, the Anime G, and I will definitely talk to you sooner than later. So with all that being said, peace.